Hey Amud Bet, middle of the page. Let's go. Yeah. Masachet Berachot Daf Mem He Amud Bet, smack in the middle of the page. Kufa Amar Rav Dimi Bar Yosef. We said in the name of Rav Dimi Bar Yosef, Amar Rav in the name of Rav. Shlosha she'achlu ke'echad. Two people that ate at once. V'yatsa echad mehem lashuk. And one of them went to the shuk. This is very important. It says ka'achat. They all ate at once. Why is that important? Because zimun, you need one of the two. Either they need to start together or they need to finish together. There needs to be some type of connection. Okay, so that's what the Mishnah says here. If it's a braita, if they start together. Now what does it say? V'yatsa echad mehem lashuk. One of them didn't listen. He just left and he went to the shuk. Korin lo, we call him. Umezamnin alav, and we make zimun. Okay, what's a chidush? If he comes back, of course, you're allowed to make zimun with him. What's a chidush? Amar Abaye vehu dekaru le ve'aneh. Abaye says that as long as he answers. Which means, generally, if you want to do zimun, you all have to be at one place, settled together on the same table and answering amen. In this case, where you have two people that said, three people that ate together, one of them left, he went out. So let's start, come back. We want to say zimun. Wherever he is, he could answer zimun and zimun counts. Although he's not with us in the same place. That's the chidush of the zimun here.
Is it a chiyuv to call the guy?
Yeah. If it's reachable, you have to call it because we all have a obligation of zimun.
So let's say
You have to send somebody to. Yeah. That's a great question because really, you're not supposed to leave the table before you bench. If you go out and come back, that's so much machloket. Should I wash again? Should I say hamotzi again if I want to eat? Okay?
even if there's two people.
Oh no. If there are other people, they save you. But generally, it's a big argument. Therefore, Mr. Benji is asking, are you supposed yourself to go get him? Pay attention. He says they send somebody. They call him from far and come. Good question, Mr. Benji. Amar Abaye, vehu dekarule ve'ani. As long as he answers, even though he answers for far, that's acceptable. Amar Mar Zutra, velo amran ela bishlosha. This loophole that you could have a person answering zimun from far, that's only a zimun of 3 people. However, aval ba'asara adinite. But when if you have 10 people and you want to say the name of Hashem Elokeinu, he has to come back by the table. He cannot answer zimun from far. Okay, only a zimun of 3 is less chamur, is less is less strict than a zimun of 3. Matkiv le Ravashi asked him a question. Adraba. He said logically it's the exact opposite. If chamistaba, it makes sense the opposite. Why? Tisha nidin ka'asara. When you have 9 people, how many people are around the table right now? Don't count. Just give me a quick glimpse. Okay. So I don't know. Right? I'm not counting. But why? Because 9 or 10, it looks the same. Right? Every time you have to count for a minyan, you count like 2-3 times to have a minyan or not. Right? Because at first glance, 9 or 10 looks the same. But between 2 and 3, you definitely don't make a mistake between 2 and 3. So says the Gemara, if you have a difference between 9 and 10, let's go, bedil ve'yavor. Let's get it accepted. The 10th one, even if he's outside, you know why? Because anyway, 9 and 10 looks the same. We have 10 people are answering, but although they're not all around the table, they said that no big deal because it looks like 10. When you have 3 and one is out of the table, it makes a huge difference. The way your table looks makes a huge difference. So he told him the opposite makes more sense. Says the Gemara, nevertheless, even though you're asking a cute question, it doesn't change the halakha. The halakha is like Mar Zutra. And Mar Zutra said what? Mar Zutra says for 3 people, you could have one being out and answering. 10 people, you cannot have one that's out and answering. What's the reason? Says the Gemara, why? My tama. What is the reason? Since he needs le'adkure shem shamayim, to mention the name of Hashem, Batzir for less me'asara than 10. Lav urcha ara, it is not derech eretz to mention the name of Hashem with less than 10 people. Lina be'ezat Hashem, I'm working to get you new Gemarot personal that also have all the Rishonim, two Shulchan Aruch, everything in one book, small book. Once you have it and you have your personal one, try to write the wording. Okay, so you develop your skills of Gemara also. Go ahead. Yes. It's just on one perek, a small book, I have it here. Write the wording so you could review yourself and develop your skills. Otherwise, you could read art school for 200 years. You're not going to develop your skills. That's the goal. Okay. Yeah, I want you to be able to do it by yourself. Let's move on. Says the Gemara, Amar Abaye. Abaye says. So you got it? What does the Gemara say? The Gemara says that 10 people, it's not derech eretz. You have 10 people that are answering, remember? One of them is outside. That's why the Gemara doesn't say, oh, it's Shem Hashem Levatala, it's the name of Hashem in vain. It's not in vain because you have 10 people answering. Nevertheless, the fact they're not around the table, it's not derech eretz to mention the name if we don't see the combination on the table. If you have a zimun of 3, one of them step out. If he answers, that's enough. We could say zimun because you're not saying the name of Hashem anyway. You just say, Nevarech sha'achalnu mishelo, baruch sha'achalnu mishelo, uftuvo chayenu, have a nice day. But when you have to say the name of Hashem, you have to give more attention, more derech eretz. Lav urach ara. Urach ara means derech eretz. We know what derech eretz means in Persian. Etiquette. Okay, that's good. Let's move on.
So the two tables next to each other.
That works. If we combine, we're gonna learn Shulchan Aruch about tables, simcha halls, all of this. Be'ezat Hashem, this at the very end when we learn halacha lemaaseh. Okay, the poskim deal with it. You go to a wedding, you say zimun, you're in a yeshiva, everybody eats on their own. Do they combine? Don't they combine? We'll see. Be'ezat Hashem. Amar Abaye. Urach ara means the way, ara of the world. Derech eretz, translation in Hebrew. Amar Abaye says, Naktinan we hold. Shnayim she'achlu ka'achat. Two people that eat at once. Mitzvah lechalek is better to split. Okay, let me explain here what's happening. You see, we have a concept, we explained it in length last time, called Shomea Koneh. Shomea Koneh means, you hear, I say it, and it's as if you said it yourself. Shomea Koneh. How does the concept work, by the way? There's a concept called Kol Israel Arevim Ze Bazeh. Actually, maybe not in benching, but in other mitzvot. Let's say you say Kiddush. And now you come home, you want to say Kiddush again for your wife. Can you do it or no? Why? Well, what do you mean? You already fulfilled your mitzvah. How could you do it again? But the answer, Kol Israel Arevim Ze Bazeh, which means all the Jews are responsible for each other. You cannot say, oh, why do I care? Oh, Masabeto Negada Beman Shekada. You ever heard that expression? So, no, in the Torah, part of the Torah is that all Jews are responsible one for each other. That's not just a musar statement, an ethic statement, it's a halacha statement. That's why I could say Kiddush, although I already said it, I could say it again for somebody that did not say it. Good? That's the basics. Now, in Birkat Hamazon, there's another rule. We both ate. Birkat HaNehenin is different. Remember what's Birkat HaNehenin? Bracha that you make on food, on enjoyment. Can I, let's say Mr. Nasimian sees that I don't know how to say Shahakol. So it's okay, Rabbani, you want to drink? No problem. I'll say Shahakol for you, you drink. Can you do that? He's not drinking. He's just saying Shahakol for me. Let's say you don't drink. You just want to say Bracha for me. Okay, the answer is no. Why not?
Not gaining any pleasure.
So he's not doing any mitzvah and he still could make a mitzvah for me? Well, one second. I just say Kiddush, right? You do it and you could do it. And you don't have to drink it. You don't even have to drink it.
Kiddush, you have to drink it?
No, take a look at Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch has a few different opinions. One of the opinions is that you could give the wine to somebody else. You could give the wine to somebody else. It's not recommended, it's not the best, but no. Now, Kiddush it's an ambiguous example. I'm just testing you general knowledge. Mr. Benji heard this 200 times from me. So listen carefully. Rashi explained. Birkat hanenim, which means beracha of enjoyment. We don't have a concept of Kol Israel Arevim Ze Baze. Why is that? Said Rashi in Rosh Hashanah, I believe. He said, because who's asking you to eat? I can't. You have to blow the shofar, you have to read Megillah, you have to, you have no choice. So I am responsible until you fulfill your obligation. I am responsible to take care of you. Okay? That's called Kol Israel Arevim Ze Baze. But I'm not responsible for you to drink a coffee. Right? If you don't know the beracha, don't drink a coffee, have a nice day. It's not my business. You understand? So the concept of Kol Israel Arevim Ze Baze does not apply by Birkat HaNeheni. Clear? Kiddush, it's actually a question in the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara had the question because Kiddush is a combination of two things, right? What do we have? Wow, Mekadesh HaShabbat, but we also have Borei Peri HaGefen. So it's a Birkat HaNehenim that was put together with Birkat HaMitzvot. The Gemara has a question, the Gemara answered that it's the same as a regular Birkat HaMitzvot. Since you're obligated to say Kiddush, you're obligated to say Borei Peri HaGefen, that becomes like a Birkat HaMitzvot. So far so good? Clear? Now, however, let's say Mr. Nasimian wants to drink water. And I say, okay, I also want to drink water. If he says shehakol and he has me in mind, it does work. I did not say it's recommended. I didn't say it's recommended for one person to say Birkat HaNehenim for everybody. But what I did say is that it does work. Why? Because here he's not doing something for me. He's doing it for himself. And when I answer Amen, it's as if I said it myself. Okay, you understand? You understand? There's different layers. People think, oh, Amen, Shomea Keone. No. There's different layers, different subjects that you have to know. Each one has his own category and his own laws. Okay, so that's the law that we're learning today. You have a concept of one Hamotzi and one Birkat Hamazon. According to Rashi, and Rashi only, this Gemara is talking about both. When two people are eating, they have a mitzvah to do what? To separate. What does that mean, separate? According to Rashi, means each person should say Hamotzi on his own. And number two, each person should do Birkat Hamazon on his own. Don't listen to my Birkat Hamazon. You do yours, I do mine. When we do Zimun, used to be, these are introduction, you may not know because time have changed. The way we act today is different than the way they acted in the Gemara. As far as Zimun is concerned, okay, it's different. Why? We'll explain. As we go, we'll explain why time have changed. People lost their focus. Okay, but it used to be that if a person says Zimun, everybody else listen, and one person will say Birkat Hamazon for everybody. Was I listening Mashad? You know Mashad? Any Mashad? Was I listening Mashad? One person say Birkat Hamazon for everybody. Anyway, when there was Zimun, that's the way to go. And that's the main part of Zimun mean that we're all combining in that. Okay, very good. We'll see, Shulchan Aruch said today is not recommended to do that. Why? Because in order to have the halakha of Shomea Keoneh, you have to pay attention to every word. Besides that, Shulchan Aruch hold that you have to understand the translation.
You have to understand what?
The translation. We're going to deal with it. This is a big subject. So that's why it's not recommended. But back in the days, they did it. One person will say Zimun, they all say. Now the Gemara is telling you, if you have two people, split. The dafka, split, separate, don't do it together. Got it? That was optional to do it. That's correct. That's very good. You're saying very good. As the Gemara, we have one opinion. We don't hold like that opinion. And Abaye seems to follow that opinion. Now we're not even talking about Zimun. We're talking about Birkat Hamazon itself. Meaning Abaye said, let alone Zimun. Forget about Zimun. But the Birkat Hamazon, saying it, everybody should say it separately. Forget about Zimun. Just saying Birkat Hamazon should be done separately. Look inside. Let's go. When do I say that two people should say it separately? Kesheshnem sofrim. if both of them are sofrim. What's sofrim? תלמידי חכמים. What we call scribe, but תלמידי חכמים. אבל אחד סופר ואחד בור. Let's say one is a תלמיד חכם, he knows how to read. One is an עם הארץ. בור means a person that doesn't know, doesn't have knowledge. סופר מברך ובור יוצא. The סופר, the תלמיד חכם says it, and the עם הארץ is יוצא. What's the reason? He doesn't know. There was no sidur. Okay, could be he doesn't know how to read, even if there is a sidur. So then in that case, it's better for the Talmid Chacham to say it, and Amaretz to listen, of course. Again, I said again, according to Shulchan Aruch, and many Rishonim, as we're going to see, it's very interesting because the Bur has to understand Hebrew. He doesn't know Birkat Hamazon. So raise your hand if you know how to read Birkat Hamazon. Now raise your hand if you understand Birkat Hamazon. Yeah, usually it's the exact opposite. People know how to read it, but they don't understand it. Here we're talking about a case where the person doesn't know how to read, but he does understand. It's not far-fetched, because remember, back in the days, by the Goyim, how many people knew how to read? Around 15%. Okay, so 85% of people didn't know how to read or write. By the Jews, it was always a lot more, maybe 50, 60%. And because of the Torah, because they're learning Cheder and this and that, they don't have to write or read, it was always more than the Goyim. But it was common that people understood Hebrew, but they didn't know how to write Hebrew. Good? No. Then, that's not what the Gemara means. If he knows how to read, he should definitely read on his own. That will be part of Sofrim. Remember, there was no Sidurim back then. So everything was by heart. So really a person that knew his tefillah, knew his stuff, was a Talmid Chacham. Okay, a regular Joe Schmo wasn't so familiar with davening, wasn't so familiar with the wording. Look at the Gemara itself, so many machloket between the Amoraim, how to say it, how not to say it. What, you weren't around? There was no Sidurim. So even the Talmid Chacham of the time had a tough time as far as tefillah was concerned. Something interesting I saw today, Maharsha. Maharsha was a Chacham of 400 years ago from Austria. Okay. He has two sections to his Pirush in the back of the Gemara. One Pirush is Halachot, one is Agadot. Halachot means the depth of the Gemara, the real Halachot, and Agadot means more of stories and explaining. Extremely important Pirush. Maharsha says, you know why Chachamim are called Sofrim? This is something unbelievable. He says that the main limud of a Talmid Chacham comes through his writing. Okay, I have to do teshuvah because I learn the whole day, I don't write anything. But the Maharsha writes, and that's why the Chachamim are called Sofrim. Sofrim means the person that writes. There's another Maharsha elsewhere. It says in Gemara, Ashre mi sheba lekan v'talmudo beyado. What does that mean? A person come here after 120, and he has his Talmud in his hand. Okay, so you always go, you see Mr. Abdullah Zadeh, he always has a Gemara in his hand in the train. But now we're talking about 120, he has Talmudo beyado. So Pashut Pshat, simple Pshat means that it's not enough to learn. It's not enough to learn. You have to know what you learn. Okay?
That comes by writing?
No. I'm saying the simple understanding of that Gemara is not enough. It's like medical school. The kids go to medical school, then they say, I pass all the tests. What do you know? I know nothing. I just want to pass the test. So what's the point? So, you're coming to help people. You have to have the knowledge. Amavdil, the Torah, the same thing. It's not enough to just come an hour and learn. You have to remember what you learn. You have to know it. You have to understand it. And eventually, there is a great test. After 120, you get tested. You get tested on the Gemara. You get tested on everything. Ashre mi sheba lekan v'talmudo beyado, which means, and by the way, learning has not only an obligation of putting time in it, but part of learning is to know you're learning. Beshinam tam levanecha. The Gemara says, Shiyu divrei Torah mechudadim bepicha. The word Torah has to be sharp in your mouth. If a person asks you a question, says the Gemara, you have to be able to answer. Not only answer, right away. Be able to answer right away, and that's an obligation for everybody. Everybody has to learn in such a fashion that he remembers and he knows what he's learning. So Maharsha writes there a new explanation. He says, Ashre mi sheba lekar v'talmudo beyado means that you wrote your divrei Torah. You also wrote it. Not only you know it, you're writing it. But that's what I mean. אשרי מי שבא לכאן לתלמודו. If you had more time, I would tell you more stories, but we don't. So let's move on. Said the Gemara. Amar Rava. You have it? Did we do the Rashis? Where's Rashi? Yeah, Rashi. You have it Korin Lo. There's one Rashi on top. One Rashi is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines from the top. Korin Lo, we call him. Lehodio Shem Rotzim Lezamen. If one individual left the other two, we call him to let him know that we want to do Zimun. V'ifane elehem, and he should turn towards them. B'ma'amakom ma'amado, where he's standing. V'day lahem bekach, and that's enough. He doesn't anymore need to come to the room and sit with them. He could answer the Zimun from where he is. Umezamnin alav, and they make mizmun. Afal pi she'eno ba'etzlam, even though he didn't come towards them. Yes. It's not clear. Okay, it's not clear. It sounds like the sound has to get there at least. Okay, we're going to read the Rishonim and see to what extent we say this halakha. It's not clear yet. Okay, and now we skip. Skip. Lo amran. Behu dekari la ve'ane. Yes, skip couple of lines. Rashi, shesomechu etzlam. He's samuchu etzlam. He's close enough to them. Ve'one baruchu, and he could answer baruchu. Rashi had a different version of Zimun. His Zimun was baruchu. He's blessed. We said baruch sha'achalnu mishelo. Blessed. And my Rosh Yeshiva always told me, was Syrian. He said, what is the best beracha for Persian? He says Zimun. Baruch sha'achalnu mishelo. We ate his. Anyway, that was his joke. But Mishelo is talking to Hashem, about Hashem. Baruch sha'achalnu mishelo, we ate from Hashem. Rashi has a different version of Zimun. Is Baruch Hu. Is blessed. Couple of times Rashi in the Masechet have that. Move on. Lo amran, de lo tzarich lemite gabayu. The only time we say that you don't need to come by them, ela shlosha. That's only if there's 3 people. Aval asara, but 10 people shitztarfu mishum haskarat Hashem. That they need to combine in order to say the name of Hashem. Ad de aite gabayu, only until it comes to them. Only then you could say Zimun. Nirin ka asara, 9 looks like 10 people. The en adam memaher lehafchin. A person, Adam, memaher. What does memaher means? He's not quick lehafchin, to differentiate between 9 and berasara le-tesha, between 9 to 10. Mitzvah lecharek. If you have 2 people, the mitzvah is to split. Ulevarech kol echad bifnei atzmo. And every person should say bracha on his own. Ben birkat hamotzi, ben birkat hamazon. It doesn't make a difference if it's birkat hamotzi or birkat hamazon. That is a Rashi special. I told you the other Rishonim said we are talking specifically about birkat hamazon, not about birkat hamotzi. Okay, there's a difference between birkat hamotzi and other berachot. Why is that? Anyone knows? If you want to drink your cup, and I want to drink my cup, I say my shahakol, you say your shahakol. Hamotzi is different. Anyone has an idea why?
Like a kiddush. It's one of the grains of Israel.
You have to eat.
Because when you eat bread, you settle. In Persian, you sit down and you settle. So when you settle, then we combine. It's even better for one person to say Birkat Hamazon for everybody. Okay, good. Berov Am Hadrat Melech. The more people who are in one beracha, the more preferable it is. When you want to make a shahakol, you want to drink a cup of water, what does a cup of water has to do? I have nothing to do with you. You make your beracha, I make my beracha, we're not settled. Now I just remember what Shulchan Aruch says about this halakha. Abaye said, if 2 people want a bench, they split and each person says separately. What's the difference? How come for birkat, for hamotzi, one person says for both? For birkat hamazon, each person should split. You understand the question? We just learned now, Abaye say 2 people, if you don't have zimun, everybody should say separately. But for hamotzi, I told you, Rashi says also you say it separately. The other Rishonim disagree with Rashi. Halakha is not like Rashi. Halakha is, hamotzi we say it together. What's the difference? Hamotzi we say it together, birkat hamazon we split. Got it? So they said the difference is the following. Birkat Hamazon, as I told you, we settle, we eat together. What's not Birkat Hamazon? Hamotzi. What about Birkat Hamazon?
Because two people are not going to.
Not only that, the idea of Birkat Hamazon is the opposite idea of settling. Right? Hurry, I have to catch a train. So you quickly bench. So benching is what the concept is. That's it. We're ready to go. So it's the opposite of Hamotzi. Now you understand. Hamotzi, we're settling together. But we're eating all together. What sounds better in Persian? So then you do Hamotzi together. Birkat Hamazon, you're ready to lead. You're ready to hit the road. Hit the road, I mean separating. Therefore, unless you say Zimun, it's better to say Birkat Hamazon on your own. That's the logic behind Abai. Good? We have more Rashis. We're done with Rashi, right? Once you settle for Hamotzi, so then you settle for the rest of the meal. Agav, once you settle for the main meal, so you settle for the rest. You understand the difference? Once you settle, Agav, that you settle for one thing, ask for Shub later. Different minhagim that people have on Leil Rosh Hashanah, but there is such a concept. Once you see, right, there is a halacha, for example, for wine. Shana says once one person do the Birkat Hamazon, do the Hamotzi, so they could Agav Hamotzi, they could also do it for the wine. Once we settle for the rest of the meal. So any other bracha that you have to say during the rest of the meal, even though usually that bracha, one person doesn't say it for others, there in that situation it could be, not necessarily as much as sweet, but it could be. Now, just something also interesting, you should know that any Birkat HaNe'enin, this is all suggested and recommended, l'chatchila, what you're supposed to do. But, Bedi Avad, let's say Mr. Nasiman is drinking a cup of water, and I'm drinking a cup of water, and I have in mind to be covered, I am covered. Okay, all of this is just suggested, recommended, l'chatchila, what you're supposed to do. Bedi Avad, you have in mind, he has in mind, you're covered. Okay?
So settle means what? Let's say if you want to have wine, let's everybody get together, we're going to drink.
So at the time of the Gemara, settled meant to lead a heseba, what we call heseba, which means to lean and then to eat. Only when you lean, you used to have bed like this, like the Roman, lean, has small table, that was a real settling. Just sitting on the table wasn't. But Shulchan Aruch says that nowadays nobody leans anymore. So sitting on the table and eating all together is equivalent to their time of leaning. Look inside. Amar Rava. Let's go. Rava says, Hamilta Amirta Ana. This word I'm going to say, Amirta Ana, I said it. Ve'itmera, and it was said, Mishmed Rab Zera, from the name of Rab Zera Kevati, like me. Okay, so in Hebrew they say I was Mechaven. I had to grade the chut to a Mechaven, to a big rabbi. So that's why Rava was a generation or two after Rab Zera. So I heard what I said something, and I heard it from Rab Zera as well. Shlosha she'achlu ke'echad, 3 people that eat at once, which means now chayavin zimun, echad mafsik leshnayim. One person could stop has to stop for the other 2. Then shnayim mafsikin lechad, but the other 2 don't stop for one person. What is that? This is very important because this happens very often, it's very common. So we have to see the different laws of this in the Rishonim as well. What does that mean? If 3 people, one of them has to leave. So he tells the other 2 guys, take a break, let's bench. Let's say Zimun bench, continue after it. Says no such a thing. 2 people don't stop for one. What about the opposite? 2 people have to leave, one is still eating. So the 2 could force that one to say Zimun. Say, buddy, we have to leave. Okay? The way Rashi said it, it's Ilchot Derech Eretz. The halacha of Derech Eretz. 2 people don't follow one. One person follows 2. Good? Look at Rashi. To answer benching. Now, what's called answer benching? Okay? What is called answer benching? Rashi is going to say something. Later on, the Gemara we'll discuss different opinion of what is the Ikar Hazimun, the main part of Zimun. Till nowadays, this is a Machloket Ashkenazim and Sephardim. Okay, we just say Ashkenazi Sephardi, we talk in the air. Let's learn properly Gemara, Rishonim, and we see what we're talking about. Look at Rashi. It's the same. This halakha is the same. Gemara nowadays it's the same. Look inside Rashi. I'm gonna answer your question. Look at Rashi. Echad mafsig l'shnayim. You have Rashi. One person. That's why you have two hands. One for Gemara, one for Rashi. Leave your hand on. Let's go. Echad mafsig l'shnayim. One person stop for the two. Im gamru hashnayim seudatam. The other two people finish the seudah. Berotzim lezamen. And they want to say zimun derech eretzu. This is a key word. Not everyone agrees to Rashi. You could get more aggressive than Rashi, as we're going to see. Other Rishonim, Rashi says, is derech eretz. Is a proper manner. Sheyeh echad mafsik es seudato. The one person should stop his seudah. Ad shizamnu alav, until they say zimun with him. Ad birkat hazan. Rashi says, until when? Until they finish the first beracha. Baruch atah Hashem, hazan et ha-kol. This is how Ashkenazim do it nowadays, right? If they say zimun, everybody stops until they finish hazan et ha-kol. They enter amen, and then they continue eating. That's what Rashi says. We'll see, it's an argument in the Gemara later on. Da'enu birkat zimun. Says Rashi, this is zimun. You heard? Rashi says, what is zimun? Zimun is the first beracha of birkat Hamazon, your first surprise of today. Vechozer, and he go back. Vegomer seudato. That third individual continues and finishes his seudah. Aval shnayim, but two people. En alehem lafsik bishvila yachid. They don't have to stop for one person. V'yamtin ad shegameru, and he should wait until they finished. Back to the Gemara. Put everything on the Gemara. V'halav papa. The Gemara has a question. Is that so that two people don't have to stop for one person? The Harav Papa, we have a story of Papa. If Sikle, he stopped eating, Le Abba Mar Bere. For Abba Mar was his son, his own son. He stopped eating to answer Zimun for his son. Iu Vechad, him, Rav Papa, and somebody else. Say, two people. So imagine, not only Joshua, his own son. He stopped for his son. So they say zimun, so he could say zimun and go. And once it was done, they continue eating, and then they say birkat hamazon later. So that goes against what we said earlier on. Earlier on, we said two people don't stop for one. Here we have a story, Maaser Rav, a story of a chacham. Says the other one. Says the Gemara, Shani Rav Papa. Rav Papa is different. The lifnim meshurat hadin hu de'avad. He did it beyond and above. He went ahead. And Rashi says, what does that mean? Do you know what lifnei meshurat hadin means? When a person is extra machmir, he does it better than the letter of the law. That's called lifnei meshurat hadin. Says Rashi, very important Rashi. Rashi says, le'achshuveh, in order to give him kavod. This I learned here. This story is like a book of musar for me. A lot of time parents think, okay, the Torah says, kabed et avicha. Okay, here's I have to give kavod. The children have to give kavod. What kavod do I have to give to my children? Istaklu. Here the Gemara says that Papa gave kavod to his son, and one above, behind and beyond, to give kavod to his son. So you see, you learn a big lesson. It's a mechubad. Sometimes it's a real lesson in Kibbud Avayim. Sometimes you want the children to keep mitzvot. You want them to keep Kibbud Avayim, right? How do you do it? You respect them, they'll respect you. But it's not something small, because as we're going to see later on, it's not an easy thing. If there is a Talmid Chacham, we're going to see the next story in the Gemara right here. The Talmid Chacham in the room to be able to say to somebody else to say Zimun, as you're going to see in the next story. So he, as the father, who is Rav Papa, very famous, gave over the Zimun to his son in order to what? To give him respect. And not only that, he gives the zimun to his son, plus two people stop for one, which is not required. So he did a double lifnei meshurat hadin to give respect to his son. This is a book of musar to me. Okay. What?
That was also to teach his son.
Of course, we're respecting his son also. He'll gonna learn to respect. My father respected me, so he's gonna respect everybody. Okay, let's see. Let's get. Could be also because Rav Papa wasn't ready to bench either way, right? He wasn't ready to bench. Rav Papa. He was in the middle of eating, so his son wants to bench. Okay, let him bench. For sure.
It could be done though. If you want to be the
Yeah, that's what the Gemara is saying. You could do it, which means you see from this Gemara, it's not a prohibition to stop for two people, for one person. It's not required, like Rashi says. It's not derech cheretz. But if they want to be mochel, go ahead. You cannot enforce it. You cannot force somebody. If two people are there, they could force the third one to enter zimun. They could force it. But the opposite is not true. So you see from here, if they want to stop, they are allowed. Continue. Look at the next story of the Gemara. Yehuda bar Meremar, Umar bar Ravashi, Rav Acha Medifti. There were three Chachamim of the time. Okay, one more time. Yehuda bar Meremar, Umar bar Ravashi, and Rav Acha Medifti. Kar Cherifta. They were 8 bread together. They had together. Lo have beuchad. They have a muflag mechavre. I'm going to translate word by word. Lo have, there was nobody behu between them. Chad, one of them. They have a muflag mechavre that was greater than his friends, which means either greater in chokhmah, number one, or in age. We're probably the same age, all learning in yeshiva, all talmidei chachamim. So therefore, what did they do? Leviruche lehu, in order for one of them to say birkat hamazon for all three. Therefore, they didn't do zimun. Actually, yat v'vekami bayr. That's the question. Hadet not shlosha she'achlu ke'echad. That I said that 3 people that ate at once. Chayavin lezamen, they have to say zimun. Hanemile, this word apply. Hecha, where the ikad that there is Adam Gadol, which means that one of the 3 people is Adam Gadol, is greater than his friends. Aval hecha dechi hadadeninu. But whenever all 3 people are equivalent in Torah or in age, chaluk beracha adif, is better for each person to say beracha on his own. Wait, I'm going to explain in a minute what were they thinking, where they were coming from. I'm going to tell you what the Rishonim say. But first read, berich inish nafsheh. So each person did birkat hamazon on his own, and they did not do zimun. Okay, this is just fun fact. You should know that that 3 students that were eating together, and then they say, look, that they said that you have to do zimun. That's probably only when there is one of the 3 is greater than the other 2. That's why one person says zimun for everybody, say birkat hamazon for everybody. But now we all equal. If we're all equal in age, in chokhmah, in everything, then we should all split and not say zimun. And that's what they did. They're wrong, as you're going to see. They're wrong. I'm going to tell you where they're coming from, but that's what they thought. Another fun fact I'm giving you: Mar bar Ravashi, the son of Ravashi, Mar bar Ravashi. Gemara said, I think it's Rabbeinu Hananel. I don't think it's the Gemara. Tosfot brings Rabbeinu Hananel. Halacha is like him everywhere in Shas, but 3 places. Mar bar Ravashi, everywhere in Shas. There's Tosfot in Chulin, but in 3 places. Okay, so it's fun fact. The Gemara says they were all equal. But the fun fact is one of them halacha is 99% of the time is like him. Mar bar Ravashi. Just fun fact. Move on. So what did they do? Atule kame de maremar. So they came to the elder, to the chacham maremar. They said, did we do right or we didn't do right? You saw there was the inyan to split, as I explained to you before. If we not combine through zimun, so there is an inyan to each person is hitting the road, is going on his own. So there's an inyan to bench separately. So they say now that we don't have zimun, it's better to bench separately. What happened? Amalehu, he told them, Yede beracha yatzatem. You did birkat hamazon, no doubt. Yede zimun lo yatzatem. But you did not fulfill your obligation of zimun. Basically, you did a mistake. You made a mistake. That's not what you were supposed to do. Good. Now, where were they coming? There is a Tosfot. It's called Tosfot Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, we're gonna have it. Bezat Hashem is a new books. In the back of those books, we're gonna have it. He says the following: He says, what was the source of Zimun? Remind me. 2 psukim we had. Anyone remembers? Kishem Hashem Ekra Havu Godel Leloenu. Right? We learned 21 page, not too far, not too long ago. We had 2 psukim. One was Gadol Hashem Iti, one Kishem Hashem Ekra. Who was saying Kishem Hashem Ekra? Moshe Rabbeinu. No, Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, so what do you see? He was a Chacham and the answer after him. So that's why, you understand? That's what the mistakes. They say, okay, look at the Pasuk. The Pasuk is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. If the Pasuk is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, right? If the Pasuk is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, so you see that the Chacham is the one who's supposed to say Zimun. And if there is no Chacham, there is no Zimun. You get it? That's what they thought. Okay, they were mistaken. Malemar said, no, happened to be Moshe Rabbeinu was there. There is definitely inyan for Chacham to say Zimun. The Gemara in Masechet Megillah, I think, Kafchet, if I'm not mistaken, the Gemara says that there was a certain Chacham that was Zoche for Arichut Yamim, had a long life. The Gemara says, what are the list of things that he did? One of the things is that he always gave to a Kohen to say Zimun first. The Gemara says, I don't understand what you're talking about. Why do you deserve a long life for that? If a Kohen goes before Talmid Chacham, the Gemara says that the Talmid Chacham is Masnieh Hashem, which means he make people hate religion. Why? Because they say, oh, you see, Amaretz goes before Talmid Chacham. Okay, so he's part of the pasuk of Masnieh Hashem. Masnieh means you make people hate God, hate religion. When they see the rabbi, this, low life, mullah, whatever, however names they want to call it and do it, then people say there's no Kavodah Torah. So the Gemara said, why? Opposite. Why do you say he deserves a long life? Opposite. So the Gemara answered, no, only a Kohen that was a Talmid Chacham on his own right. But he wasn't Talmid Chacham as much as him. Still he was Mochel and gave it to the Kohen. That's why he deserved a long life. So there is a concept of a Talmid Chacham doing it, but it's not a deal breaker. That's the point of the Gemara. If one of them is not greater than the other, that doesn't mean that you should not have Zimun. You should still have Zimun. And if you don't have Zimun, it's too bad. So then they told him, look at this. They said, so it's okay. You know what? No problem. We didn't say Zimun. We said Birkat Hamazon. Let's go back and now say Zimun. Told him no, and Zimun lemafre'a. He said, I'm sorry, there is no Zimun backwards, which means Zimun has to precede Birkat Hamazon, which makes a lot of sense because you say Nevarech. What does Nevarech means? Let's bless. How are you blessing? With the Birkat Hamazon. So how are you going to say Nevarech without Birkat Hamazon? You already said Birkat Hamazon. So he told him there is no such a thing as Zimun lemafre'a. We learn about that as well. There are exceptions to rule. But generally speaking, and Zimun lemafre'a. Good? Okay, we stop here. Chazal Baruch.